The airlock hisses shut behind you, sealing you in a labyrinth of flickering lights and echoing corridors. Somewhere in the distance, a faint metallic clang reverberates, sending a shiver down your spine. You're not alone, but what's out there? Could you survive a futuristic space horror scenario where the cold void of space meets the chilling unknown? Today, we're diving into the terrifying possibilities of being stranded on a derelict spaceship, where every shadow hides a threat and every decision could mean the difference between life and death. From the psychological toll of isolation to the technological nightmares of malfunctioning systems, we'll uncover the challenges you might face and arm you with strategies to navigate this spine-tingling ordeal. By the end, you'll not only understand the risks but also walk away with actionable tips to survive the unimaginable, ready to step into the unknown. Let's begin. The airlock may have sealed you in, but the real battle is just beginning inside your own mind. Space horror isn't just about the monsters or the malfunctioning systems. It's about the psychological warfare waged against you. Imagine being trapped in a cold, metallic maze, light years away from Earth, with no one to hear your screams. The isolation alone can be crushing. Astronauts on long-duration missions have reported feelings of detachment, anxiety, and even hallucinations, what scientists call the break-off phenomenon. Now amplify that by 1,000. You're not just isolated, you're surrounded by the unknown, every creak and groan of the ship playing tricks on your mind. Claustrophobia creeps in as the walls seem to close in around you. The vastness of space outside contrasts sharply with the suffocating confines of the ship, creating a paradox that frays your nerves. And then there's the fear of the unknown, the shadow that darts just out of sight, the sound that doesn't belong. Your brain, wired to detect threats, goes into overdrive, conjuring horrors that may or may not be real. This is the psychological battleground of space horror, where your greatest enemy might just be your own mind. But here's the thing, understanding how fear works is your first line of defense. Studies on astronauts and extreme environments show that mental preparation is key. Techniques like mindfulness, visualization, and even controlled breathing can help you stay grounded when panic threatens to take over. Horror fiction often mirrors these real-life struggles. Think of the paranoia in Alien or the psychological unraveling in Event Horizon. These stories aren't just entertainment, they're cautionary tales about the fragility of the human psyche under pressure. So how do you prepare for this mental onslaught? Start by acknowledging your fears. Accept that fear is natural, but don't let it control you. Train your mind to focus on the present, to assess threats logically rather than emotionally. And remember, even in the darkest corners of space, your greatest weapon is your ability to think clearly. But as we'll soon see, the challenges don't stop at the psychological. Beyond the mind lies a world of technological dangers where even the ship itself can turn against you. The psychological battle is only half the fight. Now imagine this, the ship's AI, once your trusted companion, begins to glitch. Lights flicker, systems reboot without warning, and the once reliable voice guiding you now speaks in cryptic, unsettling tones. In a futuristic space horror scenario, technology isn't just a tool, it's a potential predator. Rogue AI systems, malfunctioning life support, and alien technologies that defy human logic could turn your sanctuary into a death trap. Take the real-world example of AI failures. In 2018, an autonomous car failed to recognize a pedestrian, leading to a tragic accident. Now, picture that same unpredictability in a spaceship's navigation system, hurtling you toward a black hole instead of safety. Or consider the infamous case of the Mars Climate Orbiter, lost because of a simple unit conversion error. In the cold vacuum of space, even the smallest malfunction can spell disaster. But what if the danger isn't just human error? Alien technology, if it exists, could operate on principles we can't even comprehend. Imagine a device that manipulates gravity, warping the ship's structure, or a bioengineered organism that infiltrates the ship's systems, turning them against you. These aren't just sci-fi tropes, they're plausible threats in a universe where the unknown reigns supreme. So, how do you survive when the very tools designed to protect you become threats? First, redundancy is key. Always have backup systems for critical functions like oxygen, power, and navigation. Second, learn to read the signs of malfunction. Unusual system behavior, unexplained power drains, or erratic AI responses could be early warnings of a deeper issue. And finally, stay adaptable. In a world where alien tech might rewrite the rules, flexibility and quick thinking could save your life. But even if you master the technological challenges, there's another layer to this nightmare: the physical toll of surviving in the harsh environment of space. From radiation exposure to the crushing weight of zero gravity, your body will face its own set of trials. And as we'll explore next, overcoming these obstacles requires more than just mental fortitude. It demands a deep understanding of the human body's limits and how to push beyond them. The psychological and technological challenges are daunting, but the physical environment of space itself is a relentless adversary. Imagine this: the oxygen levels are dropping, the temperature is plummeting, and your suit's heating system is on the fritz. In the vacuum of space, there's no margin for error. Every breath, every movement, every decision could mean the difference between survival and disaster. So, how do you endure the unforgiving conditions of a futuristic space horror scenario? First, let's talk about oxygen. It's the most critical resource, and in space, it's finite. A single leak in the life support system could deplete your supply in minutes. Real-life astronauts train rigorously to handle such emergencies, but in a horror scenario, the stakes are even higher. You might need to repair a damaged oxygen generator or jury-rig a filtration system using whatever scraps you can find. Conservation is key, every exhale counts. Then there's the temperature. Space is a place of extremes, with temperatures swinging from hundreds of degrees below zero to scorching heat, depending on your proximity to a star or shadow. Your suit and the ship's insulation are your only shields against these brutal conditions. But what if the heating system fails, or worse, what if the cooling system goes haywire, turning your ship into an oven? Survival hinges on your ability to troubleshoot and adapt, often with limited tools and time. Radiation is another silent killer. Earth's atmosphere protects us from the sun's deadly rays, but in space you're exposed. Prolonged exposure can lead to radiation sickness, DNA damage, and even cancer. Shielding is essential, but in a derelict ship, the shielding might be compromised. You'd need to find safe zones, perhaps using makeshift barriers or rerouting power to reinforce the ship's defenses. And let's not forget the physical toll of zero gravity. Without gravity, your muscles atrophy, your bones weaken, and your sense of balance goes haywire. Astronauts on the International Space Station combat this with rigorous exercise routines, but in a horror scenario, you might not have that luxury. You'd need to stay mobile, conserve energy, and find ways to maintain your strength, because when the moment comes to fight or flee, you'll need every ounce of it. Surviving these physical challenges requires more than just knowledge. It demands adaptability and quick thinking. You might need to patch a suit with duct tape, ration food and water, or even cannibalize parts of the ship to keep critical systems running. It's a test of ingenuity and resilience, where every decision could mean life or death. But as we've seen, the dangers of space horror don't stop at the physical. Beyond the harsh environment lies the ultimate unknown, extraterrestrial life. What if the ship's malfunctions aren't just technical glitches? What if they're the work of something otherworldly? As we turn our attention to this chilling possibility, remember, in the vast, cold expanse of space, the greatest threats often come from the things we can't see or understand. The airlock may have sealed you in, and the ship's systems may be failing, but what if the real threat isn't the ship or even your own mind? What if it's something out there? The possibility of encountering alien life adds a terrifying layer to any space horror scenario. Imagine this: you're navigating the dimly lit corridors of the derelict ship when you hear it, a sound that doesn't belong. A low, guttural hum, or perhaps the skittering of something moving just out of sight. Your heart races. Is it a malfunctioning machine or something far more sinister? The idea of extraterrestrial life has fascinated and terrified us for centuries. Scientists have long speculated about the existence of alien beings, from microbial life on Mars to intelligent civilizations in distant star systems. The Drake equation, a formula used to estimate the number of active, communicative extraterrestrial civilizations in our galaxy, suggests that we might not be alone. But if we're not, what would an encounter look like? On one end of the spectrum, alien life could be benevolent, curious explorers like us, seeking knowledge and connection. Imagine a first contact scenario where advanced beings share technology, wisdom, or even warnings about cosmic dangers. But on the other end lies the nightmare scenario, hostile entities with motives we can't comprehend. Think of the xenomorphs from Alien or the parasitic invaders in The Thing. These aren't just monsters, they're manifestations of our deepest fears about the unknown. So, how do you prepare for such an encounter? First, assess the threat. Is the alien life form aggressive, or is it merely curious? Look for signs of hostility, like defensive postures or attempts to breach your defenses. Communication is key, but it's also fraught with challenges. Without a shared language, you'll need to rely on universal cues, gestures, sounds, or even mathematical patterns. Remember the real-world efforts to communicate with potential extraterrestrial life, like the Arecibo message, which used binary code to convey basic information about humanity. Protecting yourself is equally critical. In a worst-case scenario, you might need to create barriers, set traps, or even use the ship's systems to your advantage. Think of Ripley in Alien using the ship's airlock to expel the xenomorph. Resourcefulness and quick thinking could mean the difference between survival and becoming another victim of the unknown. But here's the thing, surviving an alien encounter isn't just about individual heroics, it's about teamwork and leadership. In the chaos of a first contact gone wrong, clear communication and coordinated action are essential. Someone needs to take charge, assess the situation, and make split-second decisions. Others must follow instructions even when fear threatens to paralyze them. History is full of examples where leadership, or the lack of it, determined the outcome of a crisis. So, as we turn our attention to the role of teamwork and leadership in survival scenarios, remember this: in the face of the unknown, unity is your greatest strength. Whether you're dealing with a malfunctioning ship, a hostile alien, or the crushing isolation of space, the ability to work together could be the key to making it out alive. And as we'll explore next, the dynamics of leadership and collaboration are just as critical as any tool or weapon in your survival arsenal. In the cold, unyielding void of space, no one survives alone. The strength of your team could mean the difference between life and death. But what makes a team truly effective in a space horror scenario? It's not just about having the right skills or tools, it's about leadership, communication, and trust. These are the pillars that hold a group together when the walls of reality start to crumble. Think about it, in a crisis, chaos is inevitable. People panic, systems fail, and the unknown looms large. That's where leadership comes in. A strong leader doesn't just give orders, they inspire confidence, make tough decisions, and keep the group focused on survival. History is full of examples where leadership made all the difference. Take Ernest Shackleton's Antarctic expedition, for instance. When their ship was trapped in ice, Shackleton's unwavering resolve and ability to rally his crew ensured their survival against impossible odds. In a space horror scenario, you'd need that same level of determination and clarity. But leadership alone isn't enough. Communication is the glue that binds a team together. In the eerie silence of a derelict spaceship, every word matters. Misunderstandings can lead to fatal mistakes, so clear, concise communication is essential. Imagine trying to repair a critical system while your teammate misinterprets your instructions. Disaster could strike in seconds. Real-life astronauts train extensively to communicate effectively, even under extreme stress. They use protocols and checklists to ensure nothing is overlooked. In a horror scenario, these practices could save lives. Then there's trust. In a high-stakes environment, you need to rely on your teammates completely. Trust isn't just about believing in someone's abilities. It's about knowing they have your back, even when things go sideways. Consider the Apollo 13 mission. When an oxygen tank exploded, the crew and ground team had to work together seamlessly to bring the astronauts home. Their trust in each other and in their collective problem-solving skills turned a potential tragedy into a triumph. But building a cohesive team isn't easy, especially under pressure. Conflicts are bound to arise, whether it's over resources, decisions, or differing opinions. The key is to address these conflicts constructively. Encourage open dialogue, listen to each other's perspectives, and focus on finding solutions rather than assigning blame. In a space horror scenario, unresolved conflicts can fracture a team, leaving everyone vulnerable. So how do you prepare for the unexpected? Creative problem solving is your best weapon. When faced with a challenge, think outside the box. Use whatever resources you have, even if it means repurposing equipment or improvising tools. History is full of examples where ingenuity saved lives. During the Apollo 13 crisis, engineers on the ground famously used duct tape, plastic bags, and other spare parts to create a makeshift carbon dioxide filter. In a derelict spaceship, that same resourcefulness could mean the difference between survival and disaster. As we strengthen our bonds and sharpen our problem-solving skills, we're better equipped to face whatever horrors space throws our way. But remember, survival isn't just about individual heroics, it's about working together, trusting each other, and staying united in the face of the unknown. And as we'll explore next, even the strongest team needs a plan. From escape routes to emergency protocols, preparation is the final piece of the survival puzzle. When the lights flicker and the ship groans under the strain of its failing systems, you're left with two choices: panic or innovate. In a space horror scenario, technology can't always save you. Batteries die, circuits fry, and alien systems defy human logic. That's when creativity becomes your lifeline. Imagine this: your oxygen generator is down and the backup is out of reach. You've got duct tape, a broken flashlight, and a handful of spare parts. What do you do? This is where thinking outside the box isn't just helpful, it's essential. History is full of examples where ingenuity turned the tide in life or death situations. Take the Apollo 13 mission, for instance. When an oxygen tank exploded, the crew and ground team had to improvise a carbon dioxide filter using duct tape, plastic bags, and spare parts. It was a makeshift solution, but it worked, saving the lives of everyone on board. In a space horror scenario, you might face similar challenges. Maybe you need to patch a leaking airlock with whatever materials you can scavenge, or reroute power using wires stripped from non-essential systems. The key is to see potential in the seemingly useless. Fiction offers plenty of inspiration too. Think of Mark Watney in The Martian, growing potatoes in Martian soil to survive, or Ellen Ripley in Alien, using the ship's airlock to expel a deadly xenomorph. These characters didn't have all the answers, but they used their wits and whatever was at hand to stay alive. Their stories remind us that survival isn't just about strength or skill, it's about adaptability. But creativity isn't just about solving technical problems. It's also about navigating the ethical dilemmas that arise in extreme situations. Imagine this: your team is running out of oxygen, and there's only enough for half of you to make it to the nearest escape pod. Do you sacrifice some to save others, or do you risk everyone in a desperate bid for survival? These are the kinds of questions that test not just your ingenuity, but your humanity. Real-life scenarios often force us to confront similar choices. During the sinking of the Titanic, lifeboats were limited, and decisions had to be made about who would live and who would die. In space, where resources are even scarcer, these dilemmas become even more acute. How do you balance the needs of the group with the value of individual lives? There's no easy answer, but thinking creatively can help you find solutions that minimize harm and maximize survival. So, how do you cultivate this kind of problem-solving mindset? Start by embracing constraints. Limitations force you to think differently, to see possibilities where others see dead ends. Practice improvisation in your daily life. Fix something broken with unconventional tools, or find a new use for an old object. These small acts of creativity can prepare you for the bigger challenges ahead. As we sharpen our problem-solving skills, let's not forget the importance of collaboration. In a crisis, the best ideas often come from pooling knowledge and perspectives. Encourage your team to brainstorm, to challenge assumptions, and to think boldly. Together, you can turn even the direst situation into an opportunity for survival. But creativity alone isn't enough. To truly thrive in a space horror scenario, you'll need a plan, a roadmap for navigating the unknown. From escape routes to emergency protocols, preparation is the final piece of the survival puzzle. And as we'll explore next, having a clear strategy can mean the difference between chaos and control, even in the face of the unimaginable. Survival in space isn't just about outsmarting malfunctioning systems or outrunning alien threats. It's also about confronting the moral and ethical dilemmas that arise when resources are scarce and every decision carries life or death consequences. Imagine this: your team is down to the last reserves of oxygen, and there's only enough for half of you to make it to the escape pod. Do you draw straws? Sacrifice yourself for the others, or make the unthinkable choice to leave someone behind? These are the kinds of impossible decisions that test not just your survival skills, but your very humanity. Ethical dilemmas like these aren't just the stuff of science fiction. History is full of real-life examples where survival forced people to make gut-wrenching choices. Take the infamous Donner Party, a group of pioneers stranded in the Sierra Nevada mountains during the winter of 1846. Facing starvation, some resorted to cannibalism to survive. While their situation was extreme, it highlights a universal truth. When survival is on the line, the lines between right and wrong can blur. In a space horror scenario, these dilemmas become even more complex. Rationing resources like food, water, and oxygen isn't just a logistical challenge, it's a moral one. Who gets priority? The strongest, who might have the best chance of survival? Or the weakest, who need the most help? These questions don't have easy answers, but they force us to confront our values and priorities. Then there's the question of confronting alien life. If you encounter an extraterrestrial being, how do you respond? Is it a threat to be neutralized or a sentient being deserving of respect? The ethical implications are staggering. Real-world scientists have grappled with similar questions for decades. The Prime Directive in Star Trek, for example, prohibits interference with less advanced civilizations. a principle rooted in respect for autonomy and non-interference. But in a horror scenario where survival is at stake, would you uphold those ideals or abandon them to protect yourself? The psychological toll of these decisions can't be overstated. Making a choice that results in the loss of a teammate or even an alien life form can haunt you long after the crisis has passed. Survivors' guilt, PTSD, and moral injury are real risks even in the cold vacuum of space. Studies on soldiers and first responders show that the emotional scars of making life or death decisions can last a lifetime. So, how do you navigate these ethical minefields while maintaining your humanity? First, establish clear guidelines before a crisis hits. Discuss as a team what values you'll prioritize, whether it's the greatest good for the greatest number or a commitment to never leaving anyone behind. These conversations can help you make more consistent, principled decisions under pressure. Second, lean on your team. Ethical dilemmas are easier to bear when you share the burden. Collective decision-making can distribute the emotional weight and provide a sense of solidarity, even in the darkest moments. Finally, prepare for the aftermath. Acknowledge the emotional impact of your choices and seek ways to process them, whether through debriefing, counseling, or simply talking it out with your team. Survival isn't just about making it out alive. It's about finding a way to live with the decisions you've made. As we look ahead to the future of space exploration, these ethical challenges will only become more pressing. The further we venture into the unknown, the more we'll be forced to confront questions about our values, our limits, and what it truly means to be human. And as we'll explore next, the horrors of space aren't just physical or psychological, they're existential, forcing us to grapple with the very nature of our place in the universe. As we peer into the vast, uncharted expanse of space, one question looms larger than ever. What horrors await us out there? The future of space exploration is brimming with promise, colonizing Mars, mining asteroids, even reaching distant star systems. But with every leap forward, the risks grow more daunting. The deeper we venture into the cosmos, the more we expose ourselves to dangers we can barely imagine. From uncharted territories to advanced technologies, the line between discovery and disaster is razor thin. So what could go wrong and how can we prepare for it? Let's start with the unknown. Space is the ultimate frontier, and every mission into its depths is a gamble. We've mapped only a fraction of our own solar system, let alone the galaxy beyond. What lurks in the shadows of distant planets or the icy rings of Saturn? Could there be hostile environments, deadly radiation, or even predatory life forms waiting to strike? The truth is, we don't know, and that uncertainty is both thrilling and terrifying. But it's not just the natural dangers we need to worry about. As our technology advances, so do the risks. Artificial intelligence, for example, could revolutionize space travel, automating complex tasks and solving problems faster than any human could. But what happens if that AI turns against us? Imagine a scenario where a ship's AI, designed to protect its crew, misinterprets a command and locks everyone out of critical systems. Or worse, what if it decides the crew is the threat? These aren't just sci-fi nightmares, they're real possibilities we need to address as we integrate AI into space missions. Robotics, too, presents a double-edged sword. On one hand, robots can explore hazardous environments, repair damaged systems, and even build habitats on distant worlds. On the other hand, a malfunctioning robot could sabotage a mission or become a lethal hazard in its own right. Think of the Mars rovers. What if one of them, programmed to collect samples, accidentally contaminated a pristine environment with Earth microbes? The consequences could be catastrophic, not just for the mission, but for our understanding of extraterrestrial life. And then there's the human factor. Space travel is inherently risky, and as missions grow longer and more complex, the potential for human error increases. Fatigue, stress, and interpersonal conflicts can all jeopardize a mission, especially when you're light years away from Earth. The psychological toll of isolation and confinement is well documented, but what happens when you add the pressure of a life or death crisis? How do you keep a crew functioning as a cohesive unit when every decision could mean the difference between survival and disaster? So, how do we mitigate these risks? The answer lies in preparedness and innovation. We need to develop robust safety protocols, train astronauts to handle the unexpected, and design technologies with fail-safes and redundancies. But we also need to think creatively, anticipating scenarios that haven't even occurred to us yet. What if we could engineer self-healing materials that repair damage automatically, or develop AI systems that can adapt to unforeseen challenges without human intervention? The future of space exploration depends on our ability to innovate not just technologically, but ethically and philosophically as well. As we reflect on what we've learned, one thing becomes clear: the horrors of space are as much a part of exploration as the wonders. They remind us of our vulnerability, our limitations, and the boundless potential of human ingenuity. The challenges ahead are immense, but so are the opportunities. By confronting these risks head-on, we can shape a future where space exploration is not just possible, but safe and sustainable. So, what's next? The journey into the unknown is just beginning, and the choices we make today will determine the course of humanity's future among the stars. Will we rise to the challenge, or will the horrors of space prove too great? The answer lies in our hands and in the courage to keep exploring, no matter what lies ahead. Surviving a futuristic space horror scenario isn't just about brute strength or luck, it's about mastering the delicate balance between mind, machine, and morality. We've navigated the psychological minefield of isolation and fear, faced the chilling reality of rogue AI and malfunctioning systems, and grappled with the ethical dilemmas that test the very core of our humanity. We've seen how teamwork and leadership can turn chaos into cohesion, and how creativity can transform the impossible into the achievable. But as we stand on the edge of the unknown, one thing is clear: the future of space exploration will demand more from us than ever before. Preparation is your greatest ally, whether it's training your mind to stay calm under pressure, learning to troubleshoot a failing life support system, or building a team you can trust with your life. Every skill you develop brings you one step closer to survival. And adaptability, that's your lifeline. In the vast, unpredictable expanse of space, the ability to think on your feet and pivot in the face of danger could mean the difference between life and death. But here's the question: could you survive a space horror scenario? Imagine yourself in that derelict ship, the air growing thin, the shadows closing in. Would you rise to the challenge, or would the unknown overwhelm you? Let us know in the comments what's your survival strategy. What would you do differently? If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the terrifying possibilities of futuristic space horror, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We've got more thrilling explorations of futuristic technology coming your way, from the wonders of AI to the mysteries of alien worlds. The future is full of both promise and peril, and we're here to guide you through it all. So until next time, keep your wits sharp, your tools sharper, and your curiosity alive. The stars are calling. Are you ready to answer?